So far, even though like this is a limited time game mode, this lights out mode is so cracked. Okay, it's unbelievably good at doing the thing that it's meant to do. There still is a very medium sized list of caveats that kind of like come into it as well. So the first problem is that, and we said this before in the thoughts video after watching the Alan Wake live stream. I guess also though, like the asterisk, like the little like fine print line about this too, is that it's totally map dependent, because Borgo is a really bad example of a map that they shouldn't have used Borgo as a map. Honestly, that's how I feel. The looks, the appeal, and the design of it is very good, but because it's a more open ended map, if the like if the killer sneaks up behind me sort of thing and then gets the hit on me, I still hear the chase music while I'm running away, and they still have full sight of me when they get the hit on me, so the chase kind of still commences. But if I play it on a map like Leary's, then if the killer hits me, then I'm basically gone. Like they kind of sort of have to either try really hard to find me, or they got to go try and find somebody else. And even if they try to like figure out where I went, like in Leary's, I'm probably just like not even, you can't find me anymore sort of thing. So unfortunately Leary's is a much better map that you can play this lights out modifier in versus the decimated Borgo. So I think what, if there's any feedback to take into this, is that literally like if the map, if it's an indoor map, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like it's an indoor map, it's a much better map to play this mode in versus like an outdoor map, because literally like you just get seen easily outside. Like the range of it that it covers is not enough, honestly. So there's that at least. Um Secondly, like I said, the issue that I think, and the point that I was trying to make before, is that because it's an open map, the chase music plays, and with Leary's, like because there's so many hallways and corridors and like doorways and all that other stuff, like it's really easy to just like not ever, like I played a match against the twins and I didn't hear the like the killer's chase music the entire game. The problem though is that I did hear the sound of them switching between Charlotte and Victor, which was my tell that I was like, oh my gosh, it's the twins, right? So there's that at least. Now, with that whole intro out of the way, there's definitely killers that I would recommend people play with that would really just, it would do it an incredible justice to play, especially if you play on certain maps. Like for example, like okay, Trapper is really fun to play against, just because his weakness is it kind of doesn't really matter anymore sort of thing, because like with Trapper, he puts down traps and he gets to hide in the shadows, and it's really hard to actually see where the traps are, where he could be at. And like his weakness is that his visibility is really easy to spot, and the tear radius also, that whole thing. Taking out those things literally actually makes him a really terrifying killer, because like if he's roaming the hallway and then you see him put a trap down, like you're not going to try and get behind him or try to do anything. You're going to literally hide in the corner, wait for him to keep on navigating some area, and then you're gonna try and disarm the trap. The aura will go off that the trap went off, but by the time that happens, like you're gone, right? You don't want to stay around near the trap, because you don't want him to have to, because when he basically hears the trap go off, he's literally gonna navigate and like peruse the area to figure out like, oh, someone touched my trap, like who's around here, and then they're gonna like go on reconnaissance mode and like try to find you. So if you stay around the area, it's actually really terrifying. So he's actually like a really, like he ends up climbing up the tier list significantly in terms of killers that are scary. Like I actually really do feel that way. Wraith is, man, listen, I still hate the Wraith, okay? He's still the most annoying killer ever. He unfortunately is a killer, and I'm going to be biased about it, but I'm also going to try and maintain like a an unbiased opinion. If you play against the Wraith and Borgo, it sucks because he outpaces the range of the darkness, that he doesn't lose sight of you ever. So it's really like if you're playing up against Wraith in this mode, like it doesn't change at all, because once he uncloaks, he gets a hit on you, he recloaks, and he's gone. Like the terror radius music or the chase music with him never plays. It just doesn't. It doesn't even matter. So it's really obnoxious to deal with him as a whole. Now, if he was able to have the bell and have the iridescent to ring the bell quietly, that'd be so much better. But the problem is that he still gets the freaking speed boost. So if they just modified all the killers in some way to kind of add that eeriness and scariness to them, it'd be so much better. Like with Trapper, I wouldn't change anything. He's honestly fine. Just get rid of the chase music that appears if he's chasing a person. That's literally it. With Wraith, I would change it so that the bell is not loud, but it's quieter than when he rings it. But he doesn't have a speed boost because he has such an easy time sneaking up on people anyways in the normal mode, and with this current Lights Out modifier, it's even easier for him to sneak up on people. Okay, Hillbilly's actually pretty fire because people usually run the iridescent that has him quietly, like when he chainsaw res and he's moving like really quickly, it like makes him like undetectable during it. He already basically has that in this, and that's really sick actually. So Hillbilly is also a really good killer in this game mode. Also on top of that, it's really good to go up against him even in open maps. Like he's not a pain to deal with in open maps or closed maps. Like he's just a good killer to go up against, and he's fun to play against. Nurse is unfortunately one of those killers that it's just like, it's just really complicated to deal with. Like she's always broken the game since the beginning of time. So with Nurse, like she actually, you know what the problem with Nurse, and I guess this also goes for every killer, the problem that all the killers have is that they can see the aura of the generator. Okay, so with Nurse, like you don't even have to be a good nurse. If you just know that the generator is in front of you, you literally just blink from a distance to the generator, and you immediately like catch everybody off guard in that exact moment, which honestly it's cool, but it's rough because again, like if you're going up against a good nurse, then that just becomes a real nuisance. And again, like you're going to enter a scenario where you're never going to be able to actually cleanse the generator or even work on a generator because she literally just blinks between all of them. Like Nurse doesn't chase people in the modifier mode because she literally spends too much time just patrolling generators with her power from a distance. So it's whatever. Huntress, same thing. Huntress literally has this issue where in this game mode, she's really cool by concept, but because she has a ranged attack, she literally just has to check generators with the hatchet in the dark. Like hatchets fly out of the darkness at generators, and it's random and also really obnoxious. So like for her, her playstyle is just really bizarre in the modifier. So like it's whatever. Shape is incredible. Like it's not even a discussion. The reason why it's so freaking terrifying is because it doesn't matter what his evil is, like tier wise, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, it doesn't matter. It's scary as hell to deal with him. Obviously he has the slower speed and undetectable in tier 1, but he has it even worse in tier 2 because he's also quiet the whole time. And in tier 3, he's got the one shot and he can hide in the shadows. Actually so freaking terrifying. So Myers is probably still like the most fun to play against. Hag, honestly, like I give her credibility too. She's pretty up there. I also enjoy playing against Hag, but again, there's a small little issue with it, and it's the same thing as it was with Nurse, sorta, where like, you know, all the traps that she places get put next to the generators. So like you got to be quiet and like, you know, cleanse her traps when she puts them down, and like you should be okay for the most part. But her running around, her being creepy running around is also pretty. It just really like, you know, makes your skin crawl. So I like going up against Hag as well. Doctor, honestly, Doctor sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you. Going up against Doctor is annoying. It doesn't matter if the map is indoor or outdoor, because literally, regardless of the fact, Doctor has the ability to just gather information through walls and at far distances. So like you just don't really have a fun time going up against a Doctor in the dark, because also on top of that, he can sneak up on you. So it's really, really complicated to actually go up against him and actually like have fun. Bubba's actually not too bad. I don't mind Bubba for the most part. He still runs into the same kind of caveat that he has, that Hillbilly has, except like the speed difference is there. But what's actually kind of nice about him, and it's really weird though, but because Bubba is one of those killers that's really scary to like just visually interpret going up against him, if you don't hear him revving the chainsaw and you know that it's him, that honestly makes it worse. That it's actually scarier that he's not running around maniacally with the chainsaw and he's quiet with it. Uh, and you know, it just kind of adds that eeriness to the factor too. So going up against a quiet Bubba is nice. Going up against a loud chainsaw revving Bubba is just kind of scary because you don't really know where he's coming from or where he is or how far he is. So he kind of always keeps you on your toes. Pig is a nightmare because I'll tell you why also. Because Pig literally has the capability to sneak up on people quietly and like it doesn't matter. The trap thing is whatever. The trap thing is like it's fine, but it's not like a big ordeal, but like it's fine, right? But with Pig and specificity, because she can crouch into stealth mode and creep around the place, the problem is again like if you see her coming, it's too late and she's gonna get the jump on you. If you're somehow behind her, watching her like creep around the map is scary as heck. And the worst part too is when she's like walking in a direction and then she like turns and looks in your direction, you immediately have, you know, you kind of like have to hide behind something. So she's also really scary. I actually really enjoy her. Clown, honestly, not that bad. Like I don't mind the clown. I don't usually like the clown just because the slow thing is kind of a pain. But with clown in this game mode, he's actually not too bad. I actually don't mind going up against him. I mean, it's still a clown, right? So like you kind of play how you have to play it. But yeah, the fact that you know the terror radius thing becomes a bit of like a issue is interesting. But on top of that too, like I can imagine that you know clowns who actually know how to use the speed boost potion to kind of traverse distances will actually kind of give you like a moment of like oh my gosh, you know. So the clown is pretty decent. Spirit's kind of a pain. She somewhat has the same issue that Nurse has, where like phasing becomes a problem, especially when all that they're doing is just like patrolling generators, and then if the survivor's nearby the generator, they kind of just you know go on the chase sort of thing. Um, However, it kind of works backwards too because remember when Spirit is phasing, she can see the scratch marks, but with her, she can't see scratch marks. So it's like she has to hear the breathing. So like literally, as soon as you find out that she's phasing, you just like go into walk mode or crouch mode and like hide from her. It's actually pretty insane. So like playing Spirit's incredibly difficult on the killer side. I mean, even if you're a good Spirit and you can hear like the breathing of the survivors, it still makes you pretty insanely powerful. But you still got to sort of like you know think about it to a degree. So like Spirit is hard to play as and also hard to play against. It's actually like she's probably like the I don't know if she's like the most balanced out of the bunch, but like her play skill or play ceiling is probably higher than a majority of the killers that you can play in this game mode. Legion honestly is annoying. He's annoying in the normal version with perks and a build and a loadout on a map. It doesn't matter. He's annoying to play up against. Hearing him breathe and running around people and chasing people, and again the fact that like he has the ability to to use like the frenzy to actually figure out where people are in terms of distance sort of thing is honestly like a huge pain. I think if anything like Legion's actually worse to deal with in this game mode just because of the fact that you like you know everyone spends all their time. Here's the reason why, right? Everyone gets hit with the frenzy strike. They gotta you know mend and heal, and by the time that you're doing all that, he just goes and kicks all the generators that are like making noise, and then it's just like a GG scenario. So Legion's kind of a pain to deal with. I personally just I don't know. I think Legion they're a weird killer to go up against in this game mode. Plague is honestly kind of like it doesn't really matter. Like Plague is kind of whatever. She's probably I would say similar in a sense to like Bubba, where like her throwing like the vile purge from a distance onto like from the shadows outward is pretty freaky. And it's funny because like her little smoke thing still is in the game, so like that's kind of like a weird tell that you can get from her as well in that scenario. But it is kind of spooky scary to a small degree when she actually activates the power, because again she'll just shoot like lethal projectile bomb from like the shadows and then try to catch whatever she can. Going up against her in the in a map like Lyri's is a little bit better, but going up against her in like Borgo is just kind of like a nightmare. But otherwise, like plays okay. Ghostface is the one that I think apparently everyone hates going up against because literally like him playing, because again like he his stalking power is insanely strong. He is very creepy in this mode because again all you see is the white mask, and honestly it's worse when they're not stalking you to like raise the power and get the expose. Him just Ghostface players currently are doing this thing that I admire about them, and Myers are doing the same thing as well, and Pig, thankfully. So like, the stealthy spooky killers are doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing that I'm loving, where they're just having fun with the game mode by just scaring the crap out of people. Like they don't care about cleansing gens, they don't care about getting the kills and the hooks and whatever. They don't care. They just want to scare the crap out of people, and like Ghostface is a prime example of this where it works out extremely well. Demogorgon, surprisingly enough, actually is pretty freaking terrifying. The lunge distance covers enough range that it's like that fear factor when he kind of like just comes out of the shadow very quickly at you sort of thing. It's almost like a freaking jump scare. He actually has the power to jump scare people, and it's actually really nice. I think on top of that, Demogorgon has a really good ability, or has a good tendency of like putting the portals in places that make it really hard to actually figure out like where the portals are. So you end up like if you're going to go up against a Demogorgon, most of the time the portals are all over the place and there's no reason or time to even bother dealing with them. So like you kind of have to like figure it out and like GG scenario it. Oni honestly kind of sucks. The reason why is because, very simply put, he still gets the blood orb information thing. He still can figure out where people are. So it's obnoxious because like, what Oni players are doing is, instead of like deliberately trying to get the down on people, they're just trying to injure everybody because that way they can see the blood orbs and then they go on the chase like that. And it's honestly like Oni players, in a simple term, like they're just trying too hard to play the game in terms of like, catching like the win. Like their affectation and the modifier is really unfortunate. I'm not a big fan of it personally, so that's just me. Deathslinger's also a really weird one, but I kind of like him more than Huntress because again, he actually hides in the shadow with the gun and you can't see him and he can shoot you from the shadows. So when you hear the sound of the harpoon like coming out of the gun and then you just randomly get hit with the thing and he starts reeling you into the darkness, it actually kind of like freaks you out. So Deathslinger is actually a really good killer to bring into this. He's not annoying though in comparison, right? Because like again, like in the event scenario that you get the hook on somebody or you get the harpoon on somebody, you reel them in, you hit them, like what you're going to end up doing is, you'll get the hit and then you're going to reload the gun, and by the time the gun is reloaded, like the survivor that you got is gone, right? Like that's just what. So like Deathslinger, surprisingly enough, is fair in terms of going up against survivors. He's still, and on top of that, he's scary. So it's like a win-win scenario for that. Pyramid Head is interesting because of the judgment shot and also the trail that he can leave with the sword. So my issue with him is just simply put that, again, if he starts putting the trail all over the place, he can also like babysit generators, and that becomes like a real issue. So obviously crouching or walking over them like slowly sort of thing obviously like saves you like the headache for it, but it's hard to see where it is sometimes. So that becomes an issue. And same thing like with his the judgment shot, he'll just, similar to Huntress, except it's kind of worse because with Huntress she has to be like in line of sight to actually throw the hatchet at the generator to kind of see what she hits and like what sticks to the wall. Pyramid Head can just do it through walls, so it's so much worse to deal with in comparison to Huntress. So going up against Pyramid Head is kind of a pain to a degree, but like it's also like not terrible. So, but it's like a like an opinion how you feel sort of thing. Blight is annoying, and it obviously, right, because he runs really quickly. If you can maneuver a Blight and force him to go the wrong way, then messing with a Blight, like that's the thing, is that messing with a Blight, like they kind of act like a glass cannon. If you can force a Blight to go the other way and like make a really crazy mistake, like you're gone. There's nothing you can do. It's actually so insane. So going up against Blight it can be really hilarious, but it can also be really annoying. Uh, I don't usually like most of the time, like when the Blight runs out of shadow, you kind of freak out in the moment, but then you forget that it's a Blight, and then you're like, oh wait, it's Blight, and then you end up having to try to figure out how to force him to kind of just run the other way, sort of thing. Blight's okay. Twins actually scary. Like it's really nice actually, because but again the issue, here's the thing with Twins, like going up against Twins early game is nice because like you know Victor will come out, start roaming around the map trying to find people. There's no terror radius obviously, so all you hear is his little gremlin sound, and he's freaking creepy as a result. And then when Charlotte's running around, the sound of all her stuff on her person is there, like the sound of that is there, but it's still weird. It's like a weird sound that you don't hear because there's no music playing. Like there's like that like lingering like DVD sound when the killer's not near you sort of thing. They don't even play that sound. So like I don't even think about what I'm thinking about when it comes to the Twins' audio cue of them being close by. And it's also worse with Twins when they're actually when you're working on a generator and it's like 50% done. Like the generator is making enough noise that like Charlotte kind of blends in with the noise of the generator, so she's actually scary as a result. So she can easily sneak up on you, especially in Leary's. So crazy actually. And I think the worst part too about her is that when Victor's running around, or if you have no idea and you just turn the corner and then she's just standing there, you immediately freak out and have to like turn the other way. It's actually so like it's terrifying to deal with the Twins. So I like them a lot in this. Trickster's kind of annoying, and honestly, it's the same exact issue that it's with the Huntress. It's just like he throws knives the whole time, and like instead of trying to like strategically kind of get the showstopper or the just working on the meter, like he just throws the knives out and like doesn't care. Also, he glows like a neon light, so it's like the intimidation of the killer being like a pressure killer kind of like just like it kind of disintegrates a little bit, so like it's kind of weird as a result. So Trickster's weird, honestly. I don't know. Nemesis honestly like is interesting, because I think in a similar fashion, like he's a big body, so like the fee fi fo fum sound of him like running around is like kind of scary to some degree. But what actually ends up catching you off guard is the zombies. Weirdly enough, it's always the zombies that actually like put you in the moment when you're kind of like, oh shoot, because the zombies don't make noise with their feet. They make noise when they growl, but when they growl is when they see you, and sometimes they kind of do it in like weird or specific intervals, so you don't actually even like hear the zombies coming half the time. So it actually ends up being really terrifying as a result. So I actually don't mind going up against Nemesis. There is something really really eerie about the zombies. So Nemesis is pretty sweet. Cenobites kind of bizarre, honestly. Cenobites usually have the tendency to like really rely on the box this time because they don't have perks that kind of hinder you from being able to like do the thing with like Hoarder and all that and the add-ons and whatnot. But Cenobite literally always teleports to the box, and it's weird though because like sometimes on Leary's, if Cenobite teleports to the box, they like appear behind a wall. So when they actually try to go to the spot where the box was revealed, sort of thing, they kind of sort of like don't even know where the killer is, or the survivor rather. So they kind of just like lose him as a result. It's really bizarre actually. But when the chains are out, that's the worst part because he always knows where everyone is, and it sucks. Otherwise though, Cenobite ain't that bad. Artist is actually kind of a pain. And of course it's because of the crow power, right? Artist usually has this tendency to throw crows all over the place, try to figure it out in a weird way. And like, again, I think that Artist has the same issue that the Doctor has, where like Doctor's job is to get information, and it doesn't matter where it comes from, it just has to come from somewhere, right? With Artist, she can get information, and it especially would be gravitated towards generators, which ends up becoming a pain. So when you take a single crow and have it go through like 2 gens, like you already cover your bases in that way, shape and form. So and again, on top of that too, like getting rid of the crows becomes extremely important, because like if you don't and she somehow catches you in the moment, then you get hit from a distance, and it's actually like not good. So Artist is a weird one. Not the biggest fan, despite her being my favorite killer to go up. My favorite killer by the design, but she's not the best. Onryo sucks, dog. I don't care what anybody says. Okay, Onryo's a nightmare. It's awful. I hate it so much. She's so effing scary. It's worse because literally she's invisible the whole entire time. She teleports through televisions, and the thing with the TV, it's awful. She's so scary, dude. It's actually so much worse how scary she is in this mode versus the regular mode. Literally, when you have Onryo running around Leary's, you don't even know where the televisions are half the time because literally they change it so that when you get the tape out, you got to go put it in the freaking on the other side of the map. Yo, having to cross the entire map is worse because like you end up losing generators as a result of the process. It's actually so wild. So like I always get so irritated by it because like literally dealing with Onryo is scary. Is man, it sucks. She's scary. I hate it. But what that means is that Onryo is actually incredible. Okay. Dredge makes no sense because literally Dredge is I'm so shocked. Like, Freddy's not playable, and to the homie viewer who basically provided me with the context, right? So shout out to Seth for this one. But Freddy's Dreamworld effects when the server is asleep or when he's playing the game as the killer, it conflicts with the darkness effect, and it kind of like anti-darknesses the arena sort of thing. Like the Lights Out Modifier kind of like undoes itself with the sleep mode. So that's why they took him out of the mode, which is dumb. But with Dredge, the darkness is worse because you can't even see. You thought that not seeing 5 feet in front of you is worse. The thing is, like, you can't even see anything because again, there's no aura, anything of the nature, right? So like it's actually really, really wild to go up against a Dredge. I'm so shocked that they kept Dredge in this game mode. It's weird that they did that. But alas, like with Dredge, like the Dredge is here. And I'm telling you, like Dredge is a nightmare. Not even in like a fun way. The Dredge just sucks. So it's so bizarre that they did that. That's just me though. Mastermind, Wesker's interesting because he has kind of the same issue that the Blight has, where like if Wesker tries to do the power grip on you and then he misses and he flies like across sort of thing, like you can easily lose him as a result, pretty much, right? So it kind of works itself out in a way, which is actually kind of nice. But also, if a Wesker is playing rotation and like just kind of playing like reconnaissance on the generators, he'll literally dash, like do the first dash near the gen and then the second one to cover the so like if you're on a generator, he'll just kind of snatch you from it. It's actually really bizarre. I don't mind it though, but Wesker's weird to go up against sometimes. It's not the worst thing though, but it's weird. So there's that. Knight is honestly so I don't even know how to it's just Knight just is such a weird killer in this game, and his placement in the modifier also just like it doesn't make sense because he has the same issue that the twins have, where like if you put down Victor somewhere randomly and then the person is near Victor, then the killer instant kicks off, so you would switch to Victor and go for the pickup sort of thing, right? But like with Knight, he puts a guard anywhere, and like that's just and the issue is that he'll put the guard somewhere and then he can go anywhere and you'll never hear him where he's at. So it's really weird to go up against Knight. I think that like Knight should have been one of those killers that also like weirdly enough got not taken out of the game, but I don't know. I would have like changed the powers a little bit to kind of have his place like make more sense in the mode, but it just doesn't, and it's just really bizarre. Skull Merchant, everyone hates Skull Merchant, so I'm not opposed. Again, she honestly, it's a nightmare with her because she just gets too much information out of her power in the game mode to actually like have it make sense sort of thing. It's really, really out of place. Like, I don't know how they even thought about this killer and said like it's totally okay to put her in this game mode where she can track anybody from a distance and has like a heartbeat sensor. It's insane actually. Going up Skull Merchant is a nightmare and we freaking hate her. Singularity is interesting because like the camera thing with the bipods and then the EMP stuff, and it's like it is what it is. I don't know. I guess I don't mind Singularity, but again, he kind of has the same issue that he has with the Wraith, where like you know, you get the bipod on your back, finding the EMP thing is whatever, and then he'll shoot it behind you, catch it behind you, and then, you know, basically has like a free Spirit Fury. So like it's just going up against Singularity kind of is just like a nightmare. Xenomorph sucks, dog. I don't care what anybody says, yo. Going up against a Xenomorph is literally like is also like the nightmare of nightmares. So if you haven't noticed already, right? You got Myers, you got Pig, you got Ghostface, Onryo. I'd even put Twins in there like Loki and Xenomorph, dude. Yo, when Xenomorph is crawling out of the darkness, it's the scariest thing on the planet because you don't even hear him coming. The flamethrower doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The flamethrower will like give you the indication that he's close by. It doesn't matter. You know why? Because you don't know from which angle. What you have to do is like, let's say you're in like Leary's, right? I like using Leary's. It's personally the best map in my opinion to play this game mode on. So if you're playing on Leary's and you have like a corner, right, like a generator, and you're like in a corner, what you have to do is use 2 flamethrowers to cover 2 different hallways, because that way the beeping of the flamethrower turret can actually tell you which side he's coming from. If you don't do that, you have no clue. It's always a 50-50 guess, and it's complicated to deal with. Xenomorph is freaking scary in Lights Out, so I applaud that too, because it's actually really rare to see that scenario come into full gear. So I like Xenomorph a lot. Easily like the top 5 best killer in Lights Out to play up against. And Chucky's also like Chucky's interesting because he's already kind of freaky in the normal version of the mode. So like it's good. But Chucky's power being what it is as it is by itself is actually pretty. It's also like that deception that you get when you hear the footstep thing. It makes you paranoid because like again you hear the footsteps roaming about. You don't really have a clue as to like what it is or where he's coming from. And then when you see a little freaking doll coming out of the shadows, it's terrifying, dude. The other thing though is that like with Chucky, because he plays in third person, it's really weird how it actually plays out. I haven't exactly seen the POV, but I understand it. Like Chucky also gets like, it's weird. Like Chucky gets scared also when he sees a survivor that's in his range of vicinity. You know what I mean? So him creeping around in even like in Borgo, it's actually really freaky because there are so many like tall things. Like if you know, because again, like with Chucky, you play in third person. So one thing that people do in this game mode with Chucky on Borgo is they hide in the freaking bushes, dude. And what they do is, because you can play in third person, you basically make Chucky face the wall so the red stain can't be seen, and then they just hide in bushes. It's actually so wild that they do that. People who play Chucky in Borgo like that, yo, that's tactics that I never thought of in my entire life. Like I would have never thought that people be doing that actually. So Chucky's insane, dude. I give credibility. That is creativity at its work, and it sucks because like he can't do that in the original game, or the normal version rather, but he can in this one, and it's actually so good. So like I commend Chucky for being a scary killer in that regard too. So all in all, the Lights Out modifier is really cool with all these killers minus Freddy. I still can't believe that Freddy isn't playable. I think that's so dumb, but like I'm not gonna question it. All they have to do is they just have to they just gotta like nerf the way that the chase, they gotta just get rid of chase music basically. That's the first thing. Get rid of the chase music, you fix the game. The second thing they gotta fix is all the killers are too strong. Like it doesn't actually matter, but all the killers are too strong, and it's only because of the fact that they can see the aura of and generators. That's the only problem. Otherwise, like every killer that's like top tier in this game mode is the ones that can gather information, and that's also like a huge pain. So like Doctor's really cracked. I mean, Nurse is up there, Huntress is up there, Artist is up there. Plague is really strong. Like Pyramid's really strong. Nemesis, Onryo, Knight's a pain. Skull Merchant, like all the kills that can just get information without trying, they're all a headache to deal with. Some of them actually make the game really scary though, so it's not that bad. But like in other case scenarios though, like it becomes like a huge pain to some degree. So I'm not always the biggest fan of that scenario, like kicking into full gear. Otherwise though, yeah, if they just change the changes that I mentioned in the previous video, which, to reiterate, one, there needs to be zero chase music, just zero music, period. There should just be no music whatsoever. It doesn't matter. Secondly, they need to essentially figure out a way to prevent the auras of generators from being seen by the killer at all times. The fact that the killer can actually still see generators while we can't is a huge, huge issue. Like, that's just the way that it works. And I guess like the third point is just the fact that like the killer's powers, like killer powers, like break this game mode to like a really weird degree. Any killer power that can either gather information to any degree whatsoever is insanely strong. Like, it doesn't really matter like at all. Also, some like even like killers whose objective is to like, you know, move quickly or cover ground faster, they almost outpace the speed in which the darkness kind of fills the air in comparison to the, you know, the actual map. So it ends up being a headache in that regard too. So all in all, it's a whole thing. The game mode is a really cool thing though. I'm so glad that they finally implemented this. But it is unfortunate that like it's not perfect, you know, but it's good. It's very good. I like it. So not bad. I like it. That's all.